Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Predicting the Future. Today we're going to continue on our topics of R language and we'll finish the data types that we haven't talked about last time. So today we're going to talk about three data types. One is list, second one is data frame, and third one is factors. So list is similar to array or vectors, C functions in R, but they're more like named list, or in other languages, a list is very similar to a structure with properties. Because list, you can create list of variable or a list of values that has names. You can have different names. For example, here we have a list. The first element is named name and value Fred, and so on. We can have name with dot as well. And if you print the list, you see the list is will print it like this with the name and its value. You can access each element by its name with the dollar sign and the name. And you can add, for example, the last element in this list is array, right? So you can see here the list can have different types, not like vectors. Vectors you has to be they have the same data type, but list you can have different data types of each element. So for example, we can access the last element of the list of the first element of the last element of the list, which is array. So we are getting the first element, which is 4, in the last element of the list. We can also access elements of the list by name in this way. You see, we're using double bracket here. The reason is that if we have used one bracket, it's accessing the first element, including the name and its value. When we have two brackets, we are saying that we want to access only the element of this the index of this element. For example, we want to access the first element of the last element of this list, which is a vector. We use double brackets to access the fourth element, and then access the fourth element's first element. Uh, so we can also access elements of the list by names in double brackets this way. So here, this is what I'm saying. If we only have one bracket, we are accessing not only the value of that element but also the name. And using the single bracket, we can also change the value of the element in that list. So those are some examples here. Also, list is copy paste. So if we create a list for another list, the components will be copied over. So if we change the original list values, it won't affect the second one. So it's now a reference type. It's not a pointer. Let's say in C or C++, it's not a pointer type. It's always a copy type of element of data type. So next is data frame. Data frame is more like Excel sheet. Excel sheet where the first row of this data frame are the column names. So here we're creating a data frame that has we use the data.frame to create a data frame. So we have three columns. The first column is training, the second column is pulse, the third column is called duration, and the first column of that Excel sheet will be strength, three string types, and the pulse is another three string types. So that's how we create data frame. And if we want to add a new row to this data frame, we can add it by using the rbind function, which we briefly introduced that in the previous video. So we are binding this D frame data frame with another row, which is a list, given that the training has this value, duration stat, pause stat. So you see, we can have different orders of what we want to add to this data frame, and it will use that name to know which column to add to. We can also use rbind now to add a new row using vectors. That would be C, but then it has to be having the same data type to do that. So if we print this new data frame, you can see that the last one we added was here. And data frame, you can also you can access the sub rows of data frame using brackets, and then here is an example where we want to access the first and second row, so that prints out the first row and second row of this data frame. We can also use the different, as you can see, we have a column at the end and empty there. So that's accessing the rows. If we want to access the columns, we add a column first, and then the column numbers using column here. So this is comma. So we're using column accessing the second and third column. So that will give us a sub data frame of only the second and third column. We can also access columns using the column names. So here's we're accessing using the $sign to access the column, and that will give us all the values this column. We can use dimension functions to tell us to give us what is the dimension of this data frame, which is 4 rows and 3 columns. That's the original new frame. And to get the rows, we just have to use dimension of that to get the first element of the dimension, the return value of this dimension, which is the row. The second element of this dimension function is the column. So that's data frame. And factors. Factors are another data type that is created using the factor function. And what it does is the factor it will categorize a set of values into by its values. So as you see here, we have a vector of different music types, and the factor function will create a new variable that tells us the categories. So we see we have 2 classic values. That's one level. Level is just one category. So jazz, another one, pop, another one, rock, another one. So it will categorize the possible values, the unique values of this vector. And the level is just so we can, once we create the factors, we can get all the categorized levels using the levels function. The level function of the factors will give us the unique values, the partitions of the data set. And we can also use the n function, n levels to get how many levels are there in total. And that's it. Hope you like it, everyone. Bye.